Hello, BookTube. Well, it's Tuesday, and that means it's Tag Tuesday, and that means it's my first tag, doing my first tag on BookTube, um, and I wanted to do the shelf respect tag, um, which I saw a couple of booktubers do at this point. Maybe that was like 2 months ago, but at the time I didn't have a booktube channel, so I was not able to participate in it. So I wanted to do that now and make a video um, answering the questions that were put out on the channel History Lit. Um, and he has a series of 10 questions called the shelf respect tag, related to the owning and organization of your books, which is something that I have a lot of opinions about. So I will try to keep this video from becoming a rant, because I do have definitely some pretty firm opinions about how bookshelves work and what makes a good bookshelf and what makes a bad bookshelf and things like that. So I thought it would be perfect to start with something that I'm pretty passionate about and for my first tag. So question one is, how do you organize your books? And the answer to that is I don't. uh, Except for I will generally have a spot, an area that I put the books that I've read, and keep them segregated from the books that recent pickups and things like that that I have not read yet. So I do keep them kind of segregated in that sense. But the fact of the matter is, I just don't have the amount of books that are. I just don't have that many books to warrant the need to organize them. They all fit into one room. I've got three bookshelves in here. One of them is very small. And usually I have an idea of where that book is that I'm thinking of. And I can more or less find it right away. I might have to look for just a minute or two to find it, but it is not going to be buried in some place behind stacks and stacks of books that I need to organize and things like that. So I don't actually really have the need to organize my shelves. Now, as far as organization goes, I do kind of my one small shelf I put NYRBs and penguins on because they fit so nicely in that little shelf. Um, and I do publishers matter a lot to me, so I like keeping publishers together if I can. Um, but in terms of subject matter, in terms of alphabetizing things, in terms of my like author's last name, I haven't done that. However, I have considered organizing books by publication date and kind of putting them all in line based on when they were published. But that was when I was reading a lot of fiction. And it mattered more when I was reading fiction because I was, thinking about things in terms of, well, the Brothers Karamazov came out before, Master and Margarita or something like that, and being able to visually see that, or in some cases, the books that don't seem like contemporaries at all, because one was Moby Dick and it was published in America, and one was, a Russian novel that was published in, Russia, are actually like published, 1850, let's say, or 1851, in the same year. So all of a sudden, two books that you would never think about as being, contemporary with each other actually are contemporary with each other. And does that mean anything? Does that, signify that these books are actually maybe more related to each other than you would have, first thought? Or, any number of things. I thought that that would be a good idea. But that was more when I was reading a lot of fiction. And as far as nonfiction goes and what I've been reading recently, I just don't have the desire to go through and take all the books off my shelf and reorganize them. I'm pretty capable of finding within the books that I have here the books that I'm looking for. So I do not organize my shelves. Have you ever merged your collection with your significant other? I wish, but no. Do you write your name and or the price in your books? I, as far as the price goes, I get most of my books from a used bookstore near me that has stickers on them that reveal the price of the book, and I always take those off. Fortunately, those stickers, I thank the half price books near me, that those stickers are easy to remove and they don't destroy the book when you're taking them off. I don't know why some of those stickers are like impossible to get off, and you would naturally want to take off a sticker with a price tag on it, I would think. I don't know who would really want to have like, oh wow, I paid $5 for this book. I'm glad I'm reminded of that every time I pick up the book. So the half price books near me allows me to peel off the price sticker, and I always do that. As far as keeping my name on the book, I do not do that either. I don't see. I just, especially because I'm like giving away books now and stuff like that. I don't really feel a need. I'm not sure why, but I've just never felt a need to put my name in it, to mark it up in some way. I mean, mark it up in terms of taking notes. Yes, I'll do that, but only on specific books and for specific reasons, and not just generally will I, put a seal on it or any markings or anything like that uh, decry my ownership of it. Um, do you keep all of the books you've read or only the most cherished? I'm trying to keep only the most cherished. I'm trying to. This question actually relates to one that's later in the tag, but only the books that I really have a feeling that I want to have around me at all times are the books that I want to keep. I don't want to store up a lot of books that I have no reason to hold on to. So that's why I've been giving away my books in previous videos and stuff like that, because there's some books that I'm just like, it's not that I don't like the book, it's not that I think that the book is bad or anything like that. So far I've given away books that I like, but at the same time they don't do anything for me when they're just sitting on the shelf collecting dust, and um, I just don't derive any pleasure from like mounting like these books on the wall as like, I don't know, like trophies or something like that. So not that I think it's bad if you like to keep your every book that you read. It's just for me personally, I don't really find it satisfying to hold on to a bunch of books that I'm not reading or thinking about or doing anything with. So and then question number 5 is, does the style and quality of your bookshelves and or cases matter? And the answer to that is most definitely yes. I'm actually going to bundle that with question 6. Do you have any gripes or complaints about bookcase construction? The answer to that is also yes. The main gripe and complaint that I have is related to the matter of the quality and the style of the bookshelves, which is that if you go on Google right now, let's say you're moving into a new apartment and you are shopping for a bookshelf and you Google bookshelf, you will get a bunch of results, thousands and thousands of results for bookshelves. None of them are bookshelves. They're shelves, but they're not bookshelves. The IKEA Kallax shelf will come up as a bookshelf, but that's not a bookshelf. None of the shelves that are available on IKEA or Home Depot or any of these big box stores are actually bookshelves. If you have a bookshelf that is, or a bookshelf that is 13 inches deep, I don't consider that a bookshelf. I just consider that a shelf. What book fits into a cube, a 13 by 13 cube? It's way too tall for most books, and then it's way too deep for most books. So then you end up double stacking, then you end up doing a bunch of weird things to fit more books inside of these like spaces that are clearly not designed to hold books. They're called bookshelves because it's convenient, and you certainly can't place a book on the shelves, but they're clearly shelves that are not meant to hold books. They're usually typically way too tall, so then again, that's detracting from the efficiency of the bookshelf and the space that the books can occupy on that shelf if there's, 6 inches of just dead space above every single book until you get to the next shelf. And now all of a sudden you've got, 4 shelves that hold, a fourth of the books that they could actually hold given the area that the shelf is taking up, because most of it's just dedicated to air and dead space if you want to stack your books or, put your books on the shelves vertically, as God intended. So, you know, I've even noticed some booktubers, have resorted to, using, bookshelves that are not bookshelves, in the back of their videos, and I'm the same way. I've had to do it too, throughout my life, because that's what's available when you go online and when you're shopping around, and if you go to a Target or any number of things to furnish a space because you just moved in and maybe you're in college or whatever, and you got to get a bookshelf, and those are the options that are available to you, and they're not conducive at all to the storing and housing of books in any way. So I do have gripes and complaints about the style of bookshelves for sure. And the way that I've solved that is twofold. One, I go to secondhand stores, antique stores, secondhand furniture stores, places like that. I was able to secure a very good shelf from one of those near me that is designed for books. The books go right up to the top of each shelf. Perfect. And then as far as how deep they are, it's like 10 inches or something like that. So it fits in there. There's no double stacking. There's no turning books horizontally. Nothing like that. So that's fantastic. And then the bookshelf behind me, as you can probably tell, is made out of cinder blocks and wood. So I did that because I have a wall here that is a specific size, and I wanted to fill the entire wall with books. And I was able to have the wood cut to size so that it would fit the wall exactly. And then those cinder blocks that I'm using are special order from a place near me called Menards. I don't know if you have one of those near you, but it's kind of like a Home Depot, and they have a special cinder block that is 12 inches tall, so that's a great height. 8 inches deep and 8 inches wide, which is also great for 8 inches deep is perfect for most books. So most cinder blocks are 8 by 8 by 16 because it's kind of like two 8 by 8 cubes stacked on top of each other, which is why most cinder blocks have that little divider in the middle, because it's kind of like an 8 by 8 cube, like two of them stacked on top of each other. These are like, I don't know what purposes they have, but they're perfect for what I'm using them for. I was able to find them online and ordered 15 of them, and they're heavy as all get out. But they fit the books perfectly, and I love the way that it turned out. And it's not the most ideal solution, and when I move, I will probably not do this again. But for right now, it's worked out, and I'm glad that I did it. So there's that. Question 7 is, do you ever stack books horizontally? Yes, on top of my bookshelf over there, I have stacked books horizontally. I don't mind doing that in this case, but I do mind doing that when I'm double stacking. Well, I try to avoid double stacking at all times. I did that when in my previous apartment, and I hated it because I had to dig around and pull books out, and there was books another set of books behind it, and it was just not fun. I did not like doing that. So stacking books horizontally is fine, but double stacking for me is not. um, and then question number 8 is, what are your 5 favorite jackets or covers? I don't know about favorites. For me, when it comes to books and physical copies of books, it's a lot more than the cover that matters. It's also like the reading experience. You can have theoretically a well-designed cover that is also simultaneously printed badly and difficult to read from. And so in that case, it would be very difficult for me to say that it was like a favorite jacket or cover of mine because I would just hate reading from it. So I went through on my shelves and picked out a couple of books that I thought were really well designed. Um, a good example of this is like this book, Fatal Discord by Michael Massing. It's not so much that the cover of this is like the most amazing cover that you've ever seen, but I just think it's really well designed, and a book like this is going to immediately grab my attention. Like this for me is like intensely like aesthetically interesting. I like look at it and it says Erasmus, Luther, and the fight for the Western mind, and like I'm hooked. Like Fatal Discord, and it's got this extremely engaging cover. I think that as far as a holistic package of a book goes, this is right up my alley. Like just dead on in terms of like a book that is going to grab my attention and be like, wow, what is that? I have to pick that up and hold it and see it and, in this case, buy it and read it and love it. So another one that is a similar thing is The Enlightenment, The Pursuit of Happiness, and this is by Richie Robertson. I picked this out because it's a whole thing where books on the Enlightenment, the scientific revolution, the age of reason, whatever, will almost always, it's insane, feature a painting by Joseph Wright of Derby. And I love that. It's like a code for a book that'll grab my attention. If I wonder how many books I have on my bookshelf that have a Joseph Wright of Derby painting on it. This is the philosopher lecturing at the Ori. But it's cool because despite how many times I've seen this painting featured on the cover of a book before, this is the first time that I've seen it rendered like this, where it's just a very close up of one particular man who's kind of holding his forehead and staring into the light. And it makes for just an extremely dramatic presentation of something that I've seen so many times. So I thought that was really interesting, and I thought it was like a good. I don't know if the publisher did that intentionally, but it was like a good nod to the stereotype at this point of featuring this painting specifically for books related to the Enlightenment, but kind of turning it on its head a little bit and presenting it in a way that I've never seen before. I also wanted to mention this one. This is Clarice Lispector, The Apple in the Dark. This is put out by New Directions paperback. And New Directions, New Directions Publishing, but New Directions, in conjunction with Benjamin Moser, reissued all of Clarice Lispector in English. Almost all of the covers and the editions are like extremely pretty and beautiful to look at. This is the last one in the series, and I think they kind of pulled out all the stops on this. I think that this is like immediately like grabs your attention because it's like it's just an amazing edition of this book. So definitely wanted to give that one a shout out. I also love this. This is the Life and Times of Chaucer by John Gardner. I love this edition. It's very cool. You can see the back there too. I love that. And throughout the book, they have it's got little drawings on each chapter. So very cool, very cool. I like that a lot. And then, of course, my favorite has to be the Moby Dick Rockwell Kent edition, which I'm very lucky to have. I got it as a gift, and there's nothing there is nothing more aesthetically satisfying than this book. It is just perfect on every single level. And then, what are your 5 most disliked jackets and covers? Same thing for me. What matters more is um, the edition itself, whether or not it's easy to read from, things like that. And I will also say that as far as disliking a jacket or a cover, many jackets and covers that are bad, because there are, of course, many, a lot of them are not even designed. A lot of them are just like, you know, extremely like amateur productions of books that like only exist online or things like that. And so it's hard to say that this is a cover that I dislike, because it's not even like it was like there was a designer who was working on the cover and they just did a bad job. It was like there was no designer. It was like, just kind of thrown together last minute or extremely quickly or extremely amateurishly, and then, that's the cover. I will say, though, I have this Robin Lane Fox, The Classical World. I don't know if you can see that, how well you can see that, but this cover is just baffling to me. I don't know what happened here. I think it's quite ugly. And it does have a designer here listed on the back, and I don't know really what I'm looking at. It just doesn't. It's like, and I don't mind it that much at all, because the book is printed very nicely. It's easy to read from, so this isn't like something that keeps me up at night. But just to answer the question, I was able to pull this off the shelf and be like, you know what? This I remember looking at in the bookstore and thinking, man, that is an ugly cover. So that is my entry for a cover that I dislike. And then 10. Is there such a thing as too many books? I think so. I definitely think so. But I think that it's different for everybody. I don't know whether or not I could establish some sort of objective rule, and say, oh well, if X happens, then that clearly means that you have too many books. If this happens and you're thinking this, or you're buying books like this or whatever, then clearly you have too many books. I couldn't do something like that. In terms of my own subjective experience, for me, I think I would have too many books if one, I was running out of shelf space and I didn't have anywhere to put them, which is what's happening. So that's part of the reason why I'm giving away my books. I would say that for me, I don't want books to ever be a source of anxiety for me. So, stacking books on top of books on top of books on top of books that I have not read is kind of anxiety inducing. So I try to avoid that. I'm not going to, buy, I did that a while ago. I bought a lot of books um, that I knew it was going to take me a while to read, and get around to, and it caused a bit of a headache for me, in terms of like really not liking the fact that I had all these books sitting around that I hadn't read yet. So I would say that yes, there's definitely such a thing as too many books. Um, but I don't pretend to know for everybody what too many books looks like. But for me, too many books is just if I can't control them, they're overflowing everywhere. If a lot of them aren't being read, a lot of them aren't being thought of, some of them that I have read, I'm not doing anything with, that type of thing. And I think we've reached critical mass. I think we've reached critical mass. That's why I'm giving away my books. So I wanted to do as a reminder that I've got, at this point, 3 books on offer. One of them is Zeno's Conscience, in honor of the upcoming Zachary Leader book, uh, Marilyn Robinson's Gilead, and Donna Tartt, Secret History, the Inevitable Booktube book. So if you're interested in any of those, my email is in the description, and I'd be happy to send them over to you. Um, so that's it. I appreciate you watching, and I thank you to HistoryLit for this tag. It's my first tag on BookTube, so I hope it went well. Thanks. Bye bye.